Hello everybody, my name is Dale, welcome to the channel. Today I'm comparing the 2025 Kia Telluride, the difference between an S and an EX. So you've likely watched all the videos, you've read all the articles you're going to read. I delve into something deeper here, which is a spec for spec and like for like comparison between models to see effectively if you're being ripped off by manufacturers. Should you spend $2,700 to go from an S to an EX? I'll tell you whether you should do that or not. A little bit about me: I used to work for the equivalent of a Kelley Blue Book if you're in the US, and I used to work for the equivalent of a Glasses Guide if you're watching this from somewhere in Europe. I have pages dedicated below specifically for Kia information, Kia VIN checks. I can do a Kia VIN check for you if that is required. If you want me to look at other vehicles, please jump into the comments and I will add them to my list of vehicles to compare for you. But let's get started, and I will value the difference between an S and an EX Kia Telluride, and we'll find out whether they are ripping you off for an extra $2,700 dollaritos. So we'll get to our first item here, which is seating capacity. There would be no additional value difference for additional seats or changes in seat configuration on this particular vehicle. It's going to be a personal preference thing. Do you want an 8-passenger vehicle? Do you want a 7-passenger vehicle? Do you want to carry more cargo, less? Who are you going to have in the back? You know, is it kids, adults, grandma, granddad, etc., etc.? Personal preference, zero value for something like that. Next up, we've got the auto dimming rear view mirror. Now you can see there on the S you get a day-night rear view mirror, and on the EX you get the auto dimming rear view mirror. Again, it's another zero value for something like this. And this particular price of vehicle, an auto dimming rear view mirror should be standard across the entire lineup in this day and age. If you asked me 10 years ago, there might have been an additional value, but in 2025 there is zero value. Kia should be adding that as standard across the whole range. Next item, power fold door mirrors, or side view mirrors as they call them here. So I've added additional value for this. So obviously this just makes it easier to fold up your mirrors. You know if the car's locked, if you need to get through narrow gaps, the click of a button you can fold your mirrors in. Makes it nice and easy, and it's a nice convenience option to have if you do so require it. So I've added an additional value of $100. These values are based in 3 years time, by the way. I forgot to mention that. So if you buy a vehicle today and you're going to sell it in 3 years time on a finance agreement, this is what I think this spec is actually going to be worth in 3 years time. So we'll keep going down, talking about the warranties. Okay, now we go from a 6-way manual passenger seat to an 8-way power passenger seat with 2-way power lumbar adjustment. Yeah, this is going to be an obvious and easy upgrade to differentiate your vehicle from an S model. And I've added a value of $300. Again, it just makes life easier for you and your passengers or anybody else who's going to be in that vehicle to adjust a seat into a nice position without having to constantly bounce themselves up and down or move backwards and forwards to try and get a good position. So I guess it's a reasonably significant value uplift of $300 is what I valued it at. Ventilated seats. I would have to get this vehicle in for test. I have ventilated front seats on my vehicle and they are absolutely terrible. My vehicle, just so you're aware, is a BMW X7. And anybody who wants an X7, do not buy the ventilated front seats because they just don't work. But on a Kia, they might work a lot better. They actually work really good on a 2008 Lexus ES that we have. So I would have to get this vehicle into test to see the additional value and whether it's worth more or less than $200. But in this particular case, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say yes, that's a worthy upgrade and it's worth $200. Jump into the comments if you think the ventilated seats in a Kia Telluride are good or bad, or you're indifferent. Either way. Heated steering wheel, got an X there, it's an option. I'm not going to value the options. Just doing standard equipment. 60-40 versus 50-50 split fold second row seats. Zero value again, they both split, so that's really good enough. Second row integrated window sunshades. I've added an additional value here. Anybody who has small children will understand the benefit of having integrated window sunshades rather than buying some pieces of crap from Amazon. But I think these are a really worthwhile addition, especially if they're just built straight into the vehicle. I'm not sure if they're electric or manual. I'm going to assume manual on these ones. But yeah, a well worthwhile addition. And again, it's a nice easy differentiation to show the difference between an S and an EX model if you're trying to, sell that vehicle or show what an EX is over an S. Sound absorbing front window glass. Zero value for that. That's just some marketing stuff. I'm sure it does that, but there's no additional value for things like that from a valuation perspective. Syntex seat trim versus leather seat trim. So basically, because you're changing the physical material of the seating, if you go from cloth to leather to Alcantara, whatever it happens to be, there is always a massive jump in value. It's something that people see straight away when they're either selling that vehicle. If they're going to buy it at an auction, if they're going to buy it at a dealer, they can see immediately, okay, this is the leather seat trim, and that's something that I actually really wanted in my vehicle. So it does get a massive value uplift. And I've added a value of $900 in 3 years' time for that one. Come down even further, interior accent trim wood grain. That's like a personal preference thing, even though it's standard. You're going to get zero value for something like that. That wouldn't add any value to the vehicle. We'll keep scrolling down to our next item, which is front center console USB-C fast charging port. It already gets a fast charging port, so it looks like it's an additional charging port. Always handy to have. I would recommend that Kia put this on as standard across the whole lineup rather than being a little bit cheap and saying, oh, if you want to have two fast chargers, you've got to get the EX model. You've got to spend quite a lot of money to get that. I'd rather they just did that as standard. And we can force the hand of manufacturers to do that by pricing them a certain way, either with zero or by artificially inflating a value. But in this case, it's going to be $25. It's nice to have. They should really put it on the lineup from the start. Scroll down again, optional roof rails in a particular color. No additional value because we're not valuing options today. LED taillights versus taillights. Yeah, visual difference. I'd need to see it in person to really sort of understand the massive differences between the taillights and whether, added a lot more visibility at the back, which I assume it is going to do that. And a few other things like how they look, integrate. But for now, I've added a value of $25. Yeah, sure, they look very different, but in 3 years' time, is every vehicle on a Kia Telluride going to get LED taillights? That means that then this is devalued. So you've got to play it safe with the values sometimes. Front grille, black insert versus satin chrome. Vertical designed and horizontal designed. No additional value for things like that. They both come with black grills, just because they go up or down or left or right in terms of their design. It's not really going to make a massive difference to the value. It's good to see it in terms of like knowing whether it's an S or an EX, but you'd have to be an absolute anorak to know that the EX or the S has a different grille, and which way that grille goes up or down, left or right. Next one is door handles, body color. Yep, $50 additional value for that. They do look nicer. It is an exterior visual difference, and we do have to show it that way in terms of how we value things. So I've added $50 for something like that. The total cost of the vehicle, so the difference between the S and the EX, is $2,700. The total value of everything I've just gone through right then is $1,700. So not too bad. Would I get the EX? Probably not. I don't think there's enough spec in there for me to jump up. Maybe the ventilated seats will be good for where I live in Texas. But other than that, I struggle to sell that to somebody. I would just say get the S if it was my personal vehicle, rather than spending $2,700 to get the EX model. But let me know what you think in the comments. I'll do some more Kias going forward for different specs, so please like and subscribe, as I said before, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.